Aye. Report that D-Leg.
You could use one word to describe James Pearce Jr., which word would it be?
Edge.
Not his position, but what he brings to the table.
Oh, no, he's got an edge to him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
No pun
exactly,
intended.
yeah.
Football, it's about physicality. It's about dominating the trenches. You see who won the Super Bowl last year and how they did it, and it was in the trenches.
Find you someone who looks at you the way Michael Penix looks at Kyle Pitts and fights for you the way James Pearce Jr. fights for the line of scrimmage. Step into the bird bath. What's going on, family? It's your boy C-Mo the C Mitchell checking in with another Falcons bird bath. Shout out to all our loyal subscribers, viewers, and all our supporters out there. Special shout out to fan of the show, JJ, who I met at the Falcons camp. If you love what we're doing, hit that like and subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Falcons had their first padded practices for 2025, so I was able to make my way out to Flowery Branch. This was my first time ever being at a practice, and it was pretty dope. I got there a little bit later than I wanted to, but the biggest highlight so far has been James Pearce Jr. As everybody knows, there's been a whole lot of competition and a whole lot of squabble, and James Pearce Jr. was the guy who stood out the most.
He's a good guy, man. He come out and work hard, man. The linemen just don't like it, When a guy work hard, linemen don't like it, so that's a good thing.
He got some rotation with the first team, but he also got some rotation with the second team, and it didn't matter who he was playing against. He was able to get to the quarterback a good amount of times. This is good news for Falcons fans. James Pearce Jr. appears to be the real deal. I mean, his get-off, like they say, is amazing. Also plays bigger than you would think for a guy his size. They talk about him being undersized, but from what I've seen so far, he's not afraid to be able to get in there and mix it up, and he's just too strong and too fast for a lot of offensive tackles and guards to even deal with anyway. He gives problems to everybody. I heard Matthew Bergeron on the Andy and Randy show as I was leaving practice, talking out in the parking lot. And he's actually talking about how there's a few squabbles and how he really likes this. He feels like this Falcons team for the first time is actually got that competitive edge, like a team that really wants to make each other better.
Those edge players are definitely talented. Jalon, James, and Floyd, all those guys are talented. So they're giving us trouble, and hopefully we're making them better as well.
And I think one of the biggest catalysts on our defense this year moving forward is definitely going to be James Pearce Jr. He's definitely got dog in him. You love having guys out there who are not afraid to mix it up a little bit, but kind of know how to turn it off a little bit. I'd rather have my players out there boiling over and having to reel them back a little bit than trying to ignite something underneath them and get them to want to be fired up and be able to go against people. And James Pearce Jr., I think, is going to do a lot for us moving forward. I also like the way that they were moving him around a little bit as well, too. He played as a true 4-3 defensive end, but he also played in space as a 3-4 outside linebacker as well, too. And we saw a lot more even fronts. The Falcons played with a lot more 4-down linemen. There was a little bit of 3-4 lineup in some of those odd lineups, but mostly it was even fronts and playing a lot out of nickel. Two other players that were very noteworthy of talking about, that we talked about a lot during the offseason so far, is Zach Harrison and Ruke Orhorhoro. Ruke was with the ones, of course, and there was a few times where they had Zach Harrison as a true wide defensive end. I think they're going to want to play him a lot on early downs in some of those nickel packages when teams want to spread you out and go 11 personnel. They want to run the ball at you direct. Zach Harrison definitely has enough get off to contain as a defensive end and actually get to the quarterback, but is really good at stuffing the run. And I actually liked the lineup that they had out there. It was Zach Harrison on one end, and they had Leonard Floyd on the other end, and they had Ruke Orhorhoro and David Onyemata as defensive tackles. Also, I saw Morgan Fox out there at times as well, too. I think it's too early to get into who's exactly starters or not starters. Even though we're talking about players playing with the ones and playing with the first team, the Falcons were definitely mixing and matching a lot of different combinations and seeing who works together, seeing what kind of situations that they could put these guys in. I think the fact that we want to be able to play with bigger guys in our nickel packages on early downs bodes very well for people like Braylon Trice once he's all the way 100%. People like Brandon Dorlus as well, too. I think that guys like Leonard Floyd and James Pearce Jr. are definitely going to get a lot of work in pass rushing situations. But if you want to get to definite passing downs, you got to be able to stop the run first and foremost in this league. A lot of people talk about being able to stop the run on the way to the pass, but at the end of the day, teams are going to want to spread you out. They're going to want to get into these 3 receiver sets and be able to run the ball at you. And what I like about the Falcons and what they're doing right now is they have a lot of big guys that they could put out there with just 4 straight down linemen. But we're also seeing where they're coming with just 2 down defensive linemen and speed rushers. So there was AK and Leonard Floyd on the outside, and Zach Harrison and Ruke Orhorhoro or somebody else on the inside. The versatility of not only our edge guys, but also our true defensive linemen like Ruke Orhorhoro, Zach Harrison, Brandon Dorless, having guys like Morgan Fox. We're seeing that the Falcons are definitely going to want to play with multiple packages. And one of our rookies that we drafted that I like that was getting burned with the ones is Xavier Watts. He was actually doing a pretty good job out there. Now, of course, it's going to look a lot different when you get to actual live scrimmaging against the different teams and we have these joint practices and we get some preseason games in. But he looks like he's not afraid of contact and he's able to come down the hill and, wrap up and make that tackle. He had some plays where they ran at him a little bit, and he did what he was supposed to do. I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot more playing time as the season goes on. Initially, Fuller was out there getting a lot of the run with the ones and some of the other days prior to this from what I've heard. But Xavier Watts is a guy that I think is going to definitely be huge for us down the stretch. All in all, the offense was able to move the ball a little bit, but the defense was also creating pressure and being able to get some stops as well, too. So I like the steel sharpest steel of our team. But the thing I'm most excited about is that we don't just have mean dogs on our offensive line. We got them on our defensive line, too. And we're definitely going to need guys that are going to be able to do that in the trenches on our defense. Offensively, there's not really a whole lot of surprise. I mean, Bijan is Bijan. He's definitely going to cause fits for defenses this year running the ball, but he's going to be even a bigger problem out of the backfield. A lot of teams are going to be hard-pressed. I mean, not a lot of guys can cover him in space. There's a nice little pass that Penix was able to put some touch on in the red zone to Bijan. Also, the 9-to-5 connection. Penix and Drake London are definitely going to be a thing this year. I mean, Penix was showing some nice touch on a lot of his passes, and those guys were connected. We didn't get to see Kyle Pitts really out there playing and practicing for a lot of the main practice, but during the walkthroughs of some of the previous practices, he's actually been out there with the wide receivers, and I think that they're going to be playing him a lot more in the slot this year. Pitts and Ray McCloud basically are in competition right now for that slot position. Kyle Pitts, I don't think, is still 100%. They're bringing him along slowly because they want him to be able to be healthy this year, but I think that if we get a fully healthy Kyle Pitts this year, he's going to be dangerous, and he might even approach 1,000 yards this year. Now, if Kyle Pitts balled out and had a good year, would you want to pay him tight end money if he was putting up wide receiver numbers? Because at that point, he becomes a cheap bargain as a slot receiver if you pay him what a tight end would get paid. So it's an interesting dilemma to see what happens moving forward, but this could be his year, and I'm excited to see what we're going to be able to do. Raheem and this coaching staff and Terry Fontenot definitely have a lot of pressure on them this year. And if they don't make the playoffs, there's a chance that they could clean house. Now, having a winning season is probably going to save jobs, but if there's no winning season, no playoffs, they're definitely probably going to get fired. So it's a lot of pressure on them this year, and it's not a given that they're going to be able to do it. Now, I have a lot of confidence in them, but they got to go out and play these games. Another thing of note is that Jalon Walker has not practiced for the last 2 days. Now, they say that this is planned and they're bringing him along slowly. It seems like he's got a soft tissue injury. I don't think it's anything lingering, but I'm not 100% sure. Raheem's one of those guys that when it comes to injuries and conveying information, he's going to do a lot of gamesmanship. He's not going to divulge any information that he doesn't have to by the league standard. And honestly, I don't blame him. I think it's smart to do that. So, I don't think it's anything to necessarily panic about, but I do think it's fair to have a little cause for concern because we did put a first-round draft pick on Jalon Walker, and you want to see him out there being able to get some reps. He's actually losing some valuable experience right now not being on the field, but seems like a plan that they kind of already had in place anyway, and I'm not sure if it's something with his quad or something else like that, but I'll keep you guys posted as we move on. At the end of practice, I did notice that Nick Nash stayed later to get some extra throws in with Kirk Cousins. It would have probably been Michael Penix there as well, too, but he literally had to sign team autographs. They pulled him out for being able to sign autographs with starters and all that type of stuff after practice, so I didn't stay much longer after that. But Nick Nash is a guy that stayed later to get some more reps in. I think that's a smart move for him. I think the signing of DJ Chark definitely puts his position in a lot more jeopardy moving forward of actually being able to make the team. So it's definitely great that he's out there trying to be able to get some more work in to make sure that he can definitely stand out and be able to make the team. This team right now has a lot of competition going on moving forward. That nickel slot is a place to look at moving forward as well, too. Right now, D. Alford has a clear hold on that job, but we'll see what happens moving forward. Like I said earlier, I think it's a bit early to call people starters, except for a few places. We know that Divine Deablo and Caden Ellis are definite starters right now. We know A.J. Terrell and Mike Hughes are definite starters. We know that Jesse Bates is a starter right now. But beyond that, there's a lot of open competition basically still going on right now. Essentially, we know that Onyemata could be a starter, and we know that Ruke Orhorhoro is essentially going to be a starter. But I think they want to play and mix around with a lot of these different rotations. I think they want to play around with a lot of different combinations on the defensive line. And I think they want to be at least 8 to 10 deep with a lot of the guys that they play on these different rotations. Having edge guys is one thing. I think some of the most key defensive players for us are going to be some of our bigger interior linemen. We're going to have to play our young guys a lot this year. I have guys that can definitely fill in. Morgan Fox, I think, is going to be a definitely huge key signing for us. Ultimately, I feel like we have a pretty good team. Of course, we got to go out and play these games. But so far, I like what we've seen, and I love the competition that we have with these guys. Again, that's the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway, having offensive and defensive linemen that are tough. We're known for having one of the better offensive lines in the league. So James Pearce is out there giving trouble to those guys. I don't think he's going to have too hard of a time transitioning against the rest of the league. So, I mean, he is a rookie, but some guys just seem to have that dog in them. All right, guys, that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'll keep you guys up to date on my analysis on all things and all the moves that we're making and any type of roster transactions, cuts, or signings moving forward. To C. Mitchell, Falcons Bird Bath, checking out for Point Game Official, baby.